Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bet the Edge. Thanks, everyone watching on our NBC Sports YouTube channel. Coming up today, your favorite Thursday cappers are here. It's the Well Capper and V Money, and we're going to break down 4 bowl games, including Drew's Duke Blue Devils and my Northwestern Wildcats and Minnesota Golden Gophers. Wait, who wrote this intro? Oh, yeah. All jokes aside, we have some good bowl talk, baby, plus 3 NFL games, Saints at Rams, Jags, Bucks, and Patriots, Broncos, all that and more on Bet the Edge. Drew, what's up, my man?
Oh, you're not that much, man. It's a lovely time of year. Everything's pretty chill. I will say, though, when we started talking about the bowl season, I offered some words of advice to our listeners, which were don't stress yourself out. Just get involved in a pool, small stakes. You really don't want to be betting on college kids and who's going to perform well in what setting. And with all these things up in the air, I should have listened to my own advice, Vaughn, because I'm coming off of back-to-back hellacious beats. I have obviously had ODU. I had a number that seems impossibly good considering where it closed once it was known that Western Kentucky was going to be going with the coach's son. And honestly, I feel especially angry because if he hadn't been so bad in the first quarter, maybe they give him the full game and ODU wins and covers. But he was so horrific that they went to the next guy down the line who had a pulse, and Western Kentucky eventually comes back and wins. The end sequence, especially with the 15 yards tacked on because the ref tripped over himself. There was a lot of insanity in that one. That will go down in history. Famous Toastery Bowl. Last time I ever bet on the famous Toastery Bowl one. And then of course follow that up with getting him 13 points. Got 13 points going for me with Marshall. Surprise, Roadrunner quarterback not going to play. It's going to be Josh McCown's son. 14-0 lead on top of 13 points in pocket was not enough to get a Marshall ticket home. I'm ready to be done with this. and we're 7 in, man. It's gonna be a long rest of the bowl season, and hopefully getting the ugly ones out of the way here now, so that the winners come home as we get closer to the big boys.
Yeah, it's still going to be quite some time before we get a ranked bowl game. We have to go through all these, as you put it, hellacious games before we can get, the viewing pleasure. There's no arguing that ODU and Western Kentucky was a great game. It's a phenomenal game. For anyone that bet ODU, that is the worst game we could have ever imagined to watch.
Yeah.
And I joked with producer Dan, Drew, that I took a nap in the second quarter of that game and woke up. It was 3rd and goal on the 6-yard line. West Kentucky down by 7. I turned off the TV because I said, I already know what's going to happen here. But first bet of the slate that we're going to talk about is not even going to be a spread bet for me. It's going to be a first quarter over bet, Drew. So you see where we're going. It's UCF versus Georgia Tech. It is the Gasparilla Bowl. This is Friday night, 6:30 p.m. and Eastern time. And this is the highest total on the slate officially. It was tied at 66.5 with Oregon and Liberty. Now it's the individual highest total on the slate. And with that being said, I'll be going with a first quarter over 13.5, Drew. I think both these teams get out to quick starts. We've seen it in the past 3. UCF averaging over 11 points in the first quarter, Georgia Tech with 8. And to be honest with you, these two teams are 2 of the worst 10 rushing defenses in all of college football, allowing a combined over 410 rushing yards per game.
Yikes.
Give me the first quarter over 13.5.
Okay. We're seeing some steam here on UCF. It's on its way up from 4.5 to 5.5. And I don't really know that I get why. They've been backed pretty aggressively all season, feels like, and they're not doing bettors any favors. 5-11 ATS in their last 16. That's not good. But your angle on the over is pretty strong, at least in terms of recency with Georgia Tech. So they're definitely pretty clearly a one-dimensional program focused on offense. So this could get out of hand here. We've seen this this total get bet up. It's worth noting. And so if you want it over, you do have to have a little bit more kind of clever way to get involved. This opened at 63. It topped out at 68 before there was some buyback to 67.5. I think all of that makes perfect sense to me. All I can add really then is the Gasparilla Bowl, of course, named after the fictional pirate, Jose Gaspar, but even more than that, just kind of, it's a representation of the Buccaneer culture in Tampa Bay. And if you didn't already know that that's what Gasparilla meant, then you're not about that Buccaneer life. But it's a huge part of the local traditions in Tampa. So cool that they have the Gasparilla Bowl down there, and hopefully it'll be an entertaining time. And cool that they have a local team involved with the Central Florida. So it should be. I don't have any interest in getting involved with the dog here, so UCF or pass, and over or pass, and that's kind of my thoughts on Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Yeah, like I said, I think you mentioned them beating Florida definitely gives UCF the nice advantage there. They should have the crowd edge. Georgia Tech's not going to have too far to travel for this game, though, so they should be represented well, too. But I would take UCF. I took them in my polls and challenges, small confidence, because I do think Georgia Tech has played much better down the stretch. But the first quarter over, I think, is the best bet. Get in on a Friday night and get out early on a Friday night. Nice fun fact about Jose Gaspar. I did not know that, Drew. 1756 he was born. That's good. All right, let's go to the 76 Birmingham Bowl with your Duke Blue Devils taking on Troy. Troy is a 7.5-point favorite. Looks like it's going to be going out to 8. The total's been dropping. It's down to 44.5. This is one game I will not be getting involved in on Saturday. But it's simply because both teams have head coaches being filled in for the bowl game. So I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah. 7.5 is too far of an adjustment. Yes, Troy has. Yeah, Duke's battle tested. Duke has a very effective defense, and the losses in terms of opt-outs and transfer portal stuff are real, like mostly on the offensive side for Duke. But Troy's got a lot of market support. They've been a team that has rewarded bettors all season. A lot of that coming on the ground, successful at least on the ground. However, 7.5, like, okay, you're not just saying go win the game, guys. You're saying win by margin. There's definitely a class, step up in class in terms of this particular opponent based on who they've played for the rest of the season. So this is Duke for me at 7.5. I wasn't even going to play this game. I didn't want to handicap this one. I didn't want to try to figure out who was going to be available, who was going to be playing quarterback for Duke. The Duke quarterback likely. It's going to be the third string red shirt, and he owes me money for winning that game against the Demon Deacons and Thursday night in about the middle of the season. That was a fluky win. I hope, but since that he has actually, I thought, performed a lot better in the stints we've seen him, so he can keep this one competitive, I think. And I don't have a strong reason to believe that Troy is going to be that much more fired up that they're going to be able to win this game with margin. So Blue Devils a pass.
Yeah, I agree. I took Duke low confidence in my pools, and I wasn't, because of the quarterback moves for Duke, I wasn't highly invested here with the coaches too, as I mentioned. But I will say Duke's played 5 nationally ranked teams this year, and I feel like despite all the injuries, they've still been impressive in a lot of spots. So I'd be willing to go to the window if I was forced to bet this game. Luckily, I am not. People love Troy because they were ATS darlings down the stretch, Drew. 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 games. But fun fact, Troy has lost 9 straight games against ACC schools. So will that continue? Into the Birmingham Bowl to find out. No fun facts for the Birmingham Bowl, just the fact that it's in Birmingham, Drew.
Yeah. Birmingham's lovely, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the sister city of Pittsburgh, right? They got a lot of the same roots. No, I'm not kidding. Like it's got like that little area. I think it's one of the only places in the U.S. that has like all of the naturally occurring elements that you need to make like fabricate structural steel. So they got some big time Steeler roots in Birmingham, and I think ultimately doesn't play into the handicap a ton. And I would just look at the fact that if you want a reason to fade the darling Trojans, the changing of coaches here matters. It absolutely does. Like one of the reasons Troy was so outstanding over the balance of the season. Like, yes, a lot of it was because of Vidal, their running back, who I kind of think is going to be good as a pro. Like, I've seen some of his tape. Like, that guy looks sick, and I don't know if he ultimately is as good as if it's because of the opponents he faced or if he's that good. But he looks like one of the better running back prospects coming out of the draft this year. But more than that, like, the Troy coaches were awesome, and none of these guys are showing up. So there could be some motivational questions in terms of the Troy players, and there could be some surprises about availability, although I don't have any inside information yet.
Yeah, there will be availability changes. You can guarantee that. There always is. But I honestly, Drew, kind of blacked out after you compared Pittsburgh to Birmingham, taking blue collar to a whole nother level. And then you also brought up Alabama, bro. It's almost game week for me. We're 11 days away. I don't want to hear anything about that state on here. So, yeah, let's go blue. But let's talk about the Las Vegas Bowl, the SRS distribution Las Vegas Bowl. The Utah Utes, who done us some favors this year, are favored by 6.5. That number's come down off of 7. Over-under sitting at 41.5, Drew. That stayed very stagnant. And I'm actually spraying the board in this game.
Oh.
I know we talked about this, and I think some of our best bets of bowl season are in this game.
Yeah.
But Utah, fourth-string quarterback. They also lost their leading receiver, Vaughn Dalzell, great name, by the way. And Utah's defense has been consistent all season. Northwestern, we know that's where they go, is with defense. They have no offense, all defense. So I laid the under 41.5. That was the first bet I grabbed in this game. I think it closes lower. But I also played Northwestern plus the 7, and I sprinkled that money line at plus 250, and it's down to plus 200 now.
I'm still shook that you didn't know that Birmingham was the Pittsburgh of the South. Like, that is very well known.
I went to Alabama one time.
To
be a scout, and I hated it. I don't
want
to go back to Alabama.
I don't have a ton of thoughts on the current number, except to warn people that I have awesome CLV in this game, which means it's probably going to lose. I'm holding Northwestern plus 7.5. It's crossed 7, 6.5. A ton of that is clearly the quarterback situation for Utah. It is well known to those of you who are listening that have listened to Vaughn and I talk Pac-12 football all season, that if Utah is not at home, Utah is not on my card. Besides the fact that the quarterback situation is a huge downgrade. So not exactly sure how Utah is covering by margin. Northwestern is a team that has they have some bona fide kind of senior level players that I think can help lead this team to Las Vegas and stay a little focused. And deliver a competitive effort. So I'm hopeful that Northwestern gets there. I like your underlooks. I would I'm surprised the market didn't react more, honestly. And maybe it's just people are waiting until limits go up. But we saw 42.5 get bet down to 41.5. That's not exactly enough of an adjustment, in my opinion, for the information in terms of quarterback quality. So there's this one may, as limits go up, this one may get nuked. I could see it closing at or around 40.
Yeah, I think it could be 40. If not, it could approach Bowling Green versus Minnesota status around 38 to 39. But as you hit a lot of great points. Utah being on a neutral field here isn't very enticing to be laying points. And technically, Drew, I think I lied because they're not on their fourth string quarterback. It's fifth string. Cam Rising did start. Barnes is gone, Johnson's is gone, and Mac Howard hit the portal. Yeah, I mean, if you got some eligibility left, head over to Utah if you're listening. But speaking of another quarterback issues, there's quarterback issues too in the quick lane bowl, though, between Bowling Green and Minnesota, which was briefly noted. And Minnesota's laying 4. The total has been bet up to 39.5. I have the under 38.5 in pocket, so I'm losing value, I guess, as we speak. But Ethan Kaliakmanis, quarterback for Minnesota, is gone. They scored 14 or fewer points in 6 out of the 12 games he played. So, and the receiving core, highest drop rate in the country. Not sure how much his departure will even matter, Drew. So I still like the under, but I'm not going to lie. If there's one team that may surprise us on offense, maybe it's Minnesota. Maybe. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's they're significantly better than Bowling Green. 4 points is 4 points enough? Probably not. I think this
Bowling
is
Green has a good quarterback, though.
they
Do you know
do,
about the
but
quarterback? Connor Bazelak?
Minnesota's defense is legit. Like they
Yeah,
went toe to
I
toe with
agree.
some good. They went toe to toe with some good clubs, or at least some other good defenses, I guess. And if that's maybe more of a reflection of the other offenses they faced weren't that good, then I'm going to learn that the hard way. But yeah, I got Minnesota in this one. It's a small lean. I don't think. I don't know. I'm mostly just playing this in pools. I'm not looking to bet it independently. I don't have a ton of trivia for you about the city of Detroit, the Quick Lane Bowl itself, or the sponsor Ford Motor Company. But I'm sure there's something fun out there.
Yeah, you should have probably had like a Cars reference from like the Disney movie for
There
us or
you go.
something. Made up a lie about this one. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
guess I did just learn that Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center is a subsidiary of the Ford Motor Company. I didn't know that. So
that's
I guess
boring.
it is boring, but it's a little inside baseball to have the Quick Lane, use your subsidiary to sponsor a bowl at your house. But Ford owns Detroit, and that's that.
Yeah, that is that. Yeah, this will be a pretty good game. I don't expect many fireworks to be flying in this one, though. Bowling Green's defense did hold 5 of 7 teams to 19 or fewer points that they won, opponents that they won against. And Bazelak, former Indiana and Missouri quarterback, should keep it semi-close. But I agree. I'm with Minnesota in my polls, but I hate it. I wanted to take Bowling Green here. I still might. There's time to be had.
Yeah.
But
Hey, here's a question for you. The fact that it's indoors and that this total is so low, does that entice you into an over?
that definitely crossed my mind as well. But I have bet I bet one Minnesota over. It was their season opener, and it was so embarrassing that I played unders the rest of the year on them, and I was rarely disappointed. So I'm at the
Okay.
point where I've seen so much bad Minnesota receiving, so many passing receptions. Like these receivers are terrible. No disrespect, sorry, but yeah, I don't have much confidence in Minnesota's offense, Drew. I have more respect for both defenses and both offenses in that game. So as an underman, I will go under. And Bowling Green held Michigan to 31 points early in the year. Michigan didn't go, all out for that game, but worth noting. Also worth noting, Friday, December 22nd, 11 a.m. Eastern, to prep you for all the college football bowl games. Brad Thomas, Eric Froton, and myself answering all your betting questions for another weekend packed with bowl games, beginning with Georgia Tech and UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl on Friday night. Make sure to hop on the NBC Sports YouTube channel and join us. It'll be a good time. And fun fact, for the first time all season, Drew, Eric, Brad, and myself, and this is me being humble and being honest, we went 0-3 on our best bets. Not once all season have we lost on our best bets, the three of us. So this weekend, revenge.
Yeah.
Oh, such revenge. Can't
Yeah.
wait. Friday,
Unfortunately,
11
we can't look to any trends because it's never happened.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm gonna text the boys now and say, hey, hey, Drew said, but Drew also said there's gonna be a bet made in the Saints at Rams. Am I right? Rams lane
Yes,
4.
surely.
Yes, over under sitting at 46 now. It's been bet up. Any reason why besides the Rams offense has been absolutely electric the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, and I mean it's this isn't a weather game, and the Saints are starting to get a little bit healthier on offense. I think that's the key. Particularly the availability of Chris Olave matters here a ton. Rams defense, I've had a weird off and on relationship with them this year, where I've thought, boy, they're being disrespected. Boy, they're better than people. What better than the market is rating them? And then they couldn't get off the field against the Ravens and made that a very sweaty cover for Baltimore or for LA. And I think it's a defense that gets a lot of pressure on the interior because Aaron Donald is still the guy. But it has a lot of other young and inconsistent players. They can be beat through the air. And the Saints are a tough handicap, honestly. 2 weeks ago, this team, I was ready to leave them for dead. I was literally so disappointed with the level of effort you saw. So I just appalled, disgusted with the quality of play from Derek Carr. And I'm like, why? Why? Even if he's obviously not healthy to the point where he's playing this poorly, why are you putting him out there? answered all the questions last week at home against the Giants. Now, was that a factor of them being at home, and that was why they looked so much better, or was it just in general that players are getting healthier, and now that their backs are against the wall, they're just kind of performing at a higher level? I would lean towards the latter, and I think ultimately this should be a pretty close contest. The Rams' offense is amazing; they're going to score points on this one. They're going to get into the 20s. The Saints' defense is not good enough to create pressure to where you're really going to be able to stop Matthew Stafford. But I think ultimately this game will be decided by special teams, field goals, things like that. And really, that's kind of where I'm at with the margin between these two here. I think the Rams probably win by 3. I would like a score in the ballpark of like 27-24. I think a Saints team total over makes sense with Olave in the fold, and I think Saints at +4 is probably the bet, just because Rams, some of their players on offense, and just in general, the injuries they're dealing with on a short week. Not exactly sure what you're going to get out of a player like Cooper Kupp, who's been pretty vocal about how much he does not love playing on the SoFi turf on short rest. So there could be some stuttering here from the Rams offense, which is kind of maybe making me lean even harder into the Saints here. Do you have a handicap for this one?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same sense as the over with you. I think that the movement from 44.5 to 46 is correct. I think the Saints could score points. I think the Rams offense has literally been a clinic over the last 4 weeks. They've averaged 33 points per game. A lot of that has been Kyren Williams. I mean, he's been so impressive, 88 plus yards in those 4 games, 124 on average. And since the bye week, the Rams have looked like a completely different team. I mean, 4-1 in their last 5. And they've been a sweetheart to meet the past 2 weeks. So this is where I'm going to disagree with you, but this might be a little biased, to be honest, because if you remember when I asked you last week about the Rams in the survivor pool, I took them against the Commanders, and the week previously, I took the Ravens to beat the Rams. So I've had a pretty decent read on the Rams these last 2 weeks. And this is a spot where you say the Saints have looked better the past 2 weeks, but we have to remind ourselves these are the Panthers and the Giants.
True.
These are bottom dweller teams.
Mm-hmm.
They hosted the Lions before that. So 3 games the Saints have had to correct themselves, and now they fly across the country after 3 straight home games. It's not really a situation where I'm like rushing to the window to get the Saints or think they might be super competitive. Yeah, coming off 3 straight home games is tough for me when you go across the country.
True. We saw it with the Cowboys, 3 straight weeks at home. Everybody tends to kind of forget the fact that matters in terms of health and just quality of play. And then you go on the road and all of a sudden it doesn't look as great. That definitely could be a factor, although it is still indoors. You're not going to have to deal with weather and elements. I think ultimately should be a competitive game. So you're leaning to lay the points with the Rams.
Yeah, if I was taking a side, I'm taking the Rams. My bet in this game, I tell people to put money on, would be the over. I think the Rams could put up 24 plus points, and I'd agree with you. I think the Saints will be a close bet to their team total, but I think I would lean the over there as well.
Okay. Well, for the sake of entertainment value, God, I hope the Rams win this game. I would really, really like to see them in the mix for a wild card. And I'm not saying I don't want to see the Saints win the South, because there's some excitement there. There's a little bit of juice there, but I like what the Buccaneers are doing right now. I'd like to see them carry that across the finish line and get in as a 4 seed, get the Rams in as the 6 or the 7, and then we're talking about way entertaining wild card games in the NFC. So hope the Rams win. Knocking on wood here. I got my Rams jersey ready to go if they get there, but it's I'm nervous about this team. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. I feel like they gave you their absolute best against that Ravens, and it wasn't good enough.
They did.
I'm worried that there's a potential stinker coming one of these days, and hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not one that they can't get around. Because I might also be a little bit guilty of looking forward to next week's game a little bit. Rams are in like one of the most cherry spots in football, where they get 10 days rest playing against a team that's coming off of short rest. And I think I'd like to see some, I know it's just, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for those of us who are handicapping to have a situation where people are kind of off the scent of the Rams being that good against a Giants team that they could probably win by 2 touchdowns against.
Yeah, I didn't look at that or factor that in, because my survivor pool pick this week is the Eagles to beat the Giants on Christmas, and then the Giants have to yeah, save the Eagles for week 16, baby, or week 15, whatever it is, and week 16. But yeah, and I that sense of the spot betting, because that actually is a really, I think, expert way of handicapping is spot betting teams, what's a better position to bet them. And I would say the Rams are a better bet against the Giants next week, 100%. And we know the Giants will probably be, not tanking all the way, but they're pretty done. So we know we're not get a great offensive showing from them. So I'm with you there. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this game. We'll disagree on the spread, but we'll align here on the total, Drew. And if you want the Bucs to win, I can't wait to hear your breakdown against the Jaguars, because you are a fan of the Jaguars. So as a reminder, everybody, unwrap an early Christmas present this Saturday. We have an NFL doubleheader. It all begins at 3 p.m. Eastern as we take you up to kickoff in Pittsburgh between the Bengals and the Steelers on NBC and Peacock. Then at 7:30, it's a Peacock exclusive matchup as Josh Allen and the Bills look to stay in the postseason mix when they travel to Los Angeles to face the Chargers. Crazy that whoever wrote that promo didn't say Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh, because it's not Mitch Trubisky anymore. It's Mason Rudolph time. But that's just me being hopeful after Steelers lost my bet on my birthday, Drew, my 30th birthday. Steelers couldn't come through. Gardner Minshew. I knew I should have took the guy with the mustache. But let's talk about a bet that I didn't give out, but I did make on Sunday night. I took the Jags +4. It was embarrassing. Trevor Lawrence basically pulled a shark tail. If you remember the kids movie with Will Smith, when the seahorse trips underwater at the finish line, that was basically Trevor Lawrence fumbling in the red zone. Tons of turnovers, penalties. I don't know, Drew. I can't trust the Jags anymore, man. But I don't think the Bucs should be favorites.
Yeah, I think Merry Christmas to the listeners. Over 42.5 is going to go up. This is current market is right now pricing in some sort of low likelihood that Trevor Lawrence plays. I think it's very likely Trevor Lawrence plays. I don't know about very likely. We'll say likely. When that he's in concussion protocol right now. He hasn't cleared concussion protocol just because of time. He played a little bit uneven in the game, in the fourth quarter in particular, after he got his bell rung. And that may have been somewhat related to the concussion, but I think it was just more like he was pressing and he was up against a defense that was doing some things that really can confuse you. I was on the Ravens last week against you, largely because I believed in Mike McDonald in a simulated pressure scheme against the Jaguars team that has an offensive line that was just completely in tatters, and communication breakdowns and ability to adjust to exactly what the pressure was going to be was obviously limited. And I think that ultimately was what kept them, beyond just the self-inflicted dinks like the missed field goals and the fumbles. Just the slight misdirection that the Ravens brought to the table, I thought really made a big difference in that game. Buccaneers don't have the personnel to do that. Buccaneers don't have the talent to do that. They don't have a pass rush to really inflict much harm here, and they have secondary that is absolutely beaten and battered right now up against the Jaguars team that does have a couple of weapons that can absolutely rain terror. Zay Flowers is probably not going to go. Christian Kirk is out for the season, so we are down to a couple of guys who don't have true blue pedigree who you're going to be counting on. But Ridley and Ingram, I think, are absolutely huge mismatches here against the Tampa Bay defense, and Travis Etienne in the screen game. Nice matchup against the Tampa Bay defense. So I think the Jaguars are going to get their points here once we kind of get confirmation that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence good to go. And then Tampa, they're absolutely going to get their points. The Jags defense is hot frogs. Like, they have lived and died with one tiny thing, which is ability to generate pressure. Now they're going up against a true blue elite pass pro unit. I don't think the Jags defense is going to be able to get off the field here whatsoever. My fair total is 44.5, and I think that's probably where this closes once we hear confirmation of Trevor Lawrence. If you want to sit around and wait for confirmation of Trevor Lawrence and get the worst of the number, it's still probably going to go over. The Bucs play over games like Godwin right now. I don't know if you saw Godwin, but
he had a great game.
He was clearly dealing with something physically, like through the middle portion of the season. He looks
Yeah.
healthy now. Mike Evans is
155.
Mike Evans is a true wide receiver one. Rachaad White is complimentary football for them on the ground. This Buccaneers team is going to get into the mid-20s, I think. This could turn into like a real deal shootout. Jaguars, by the way, their playoff hopes are like a little bit on they're on life support, man. This is a wild one. Do you feel like the Jags bounce back here ultimately, or do you like my look on the over?
I don't trust either team here, Drew. I like the over the most. I agree with you that Tampa Bay's offense has looked much better the last 3 weeks, and it's another situation. Where do I grade Tampa Bay? Because Tampa Bay has beat Carolina, Atlanta, and Green Bay. The Green Bay game seemed like a pretty decent spot to be taking the Bucs, in my opinion. Packers seemed like their height of the season was starting to die off, and it's a pick 'em seems appropriate because once Lawrence is rolled in, I think they're now the favorites, and that is the side I kind of lean. But I'm going to piggyback off of something you did earlier because in my survivor pool in the contest I'm trying to win, I haven't used the Jags yet, but I will be using the Jags next week against the Panthers because that's a much better spot for the Jaguars, especially if they lose this game. Talk about backs against the wall, pay the bill kind of spot. The Jaguars are going to dismantle the Panthers. So I'm kind of waiting and seeing to see what happens here. But if I was going to place a bet, I would take the over or look towards a player you mentioned, and that's Calvin Ridley, because Calvin Ridley played in the NFC South for years. He's played Tampa Bay. He scored a touchdown against the Bucs in 4 of his last 5 times. He's been targeted 10+ times in the last 4 meetings against the Bucs. He almost owns this team. We can't say that, but he puts up great numbers against them, Drew. So, I'm looking at the Calvin Ridley props or an over in this game. So I'm with you there. Anything you want to add before we talk about the lowest total on the board?
Well, the other reason that Calvin Ridley props are of note would be because the Jags are probably going to be in a must-pass situation for a lot of this game. There's a decent chance they're playing from a negative game state. It's comeback mode for them. Their running attack can't get going on the ground to save their lives, even though they still give the ball to Travis Etienne a lot to try to establish it. It's not working. I think ultimately Ridley makes sense to me.
Yeah, Etienne, 56 or fewer rushing yards in his last 6 games out of a bye week. Not what you expected for him or my fantasy team, Travis. But the Jaguars' only wins, Drew, since the bye week are against the Titans and the Texans, and they got the Titans to finish the season. So that is going to be quite the game, man. I can't wait to talk about that one with you. Maybe not as excited to talk about this game. Maybe not you. I am, because I'm betting this game. I got the under 34.5, baby. Pats, okay. Broncos. Broncos are now 6.5-point favorites. People may be laying the points with Denver, thinking the Patriots are tanking. They're done. They're not aggressive anymore. They did pass on a few 3rd or 4th downs when they're down the past 2 weeks that I definitely questioned. So my question to you is, does New England stay competitive in this game to stay within a touchdown?
I think so. I think we're on the same page here, which is going to be a low-scoring Patriots cover probably. Patriots defense is good. I don't think there's any real mincing of words there.
No one's going to argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the reasons that the Chiefs even got to 27 last week was short fields. And if the Patriots are playing loosey-goosey with the football and the Broncos have short fields, maybe that makes this a little sweatier. But I think the Broncos offense is pretty broken right now. If you couldn't get it done at all against Detroit Lions, this is going to be a rude awakening for you. It's not like Russell Wilson's playing with a ton of confidence. I think there's a lot of pressing going on as they are kind of right now fighting for their playoff lives. Like, this could be a pretty ugly contest. The weather does not look great. We're probably going to be getting some wintry mix, if not outright snow, on Sunday night. And I think that's Patriots weather, man. No, in seriousness though, it is Patriots weather because the Patriots want to get it done on the ground with Zeke, and they want to get it done to the tight ends, the tight Hunter Henry. And if there's one soft spot with the Broncos, it's getting physical with them in the running game and hitting them over and over with the tight end. So the Patriots probably have the right blueprint to keep this competitive regardless of the scoring conditions. And I think you're right. This is a low scoring game. Points are at a premium. And if it goes under 34.5, then having 6.5 points is even that much more, of a nice spot to be in. So there's not a lot of sides I'm super into this week at all, and I'm not super into the Patriots. But I think 6.5 is a bet, and if I had to guess, this is probably going to 6.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to move down the direction of New England too. And I only have a couple things more to note on the game because talking about situational betting for Denver, it was sort of a sell high spot. I felt like against the Lions last week. They looked so good. They won 5 games in a row. They lost the Texans in a close game, beat the Chargers, and it's like, at what point will the Broncos maintain this? But Denver hasn't played a home game since November 26th.
Been a while.
It's been almost a full month. 3 road games. You come back home and altitude with the weather, as you mentioned, on Christmas Eve. This game could get ugly. Like, it should be ugly.
Ugly as in first to 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say this too, because the last 6 weeks, I have, not that I've sought it out, but they've been just obvious bets to me. Like, if I had to make this the lowest total game on the slate, this would have been it. In the past 6 weeks, I bet the lowest total game on the slate, and I've gone 4-2 to the under. The 2 losses, Drew. Can you guess what the 2 losses were? 2 lowest scoring game, 2 lowest totals?
Pittsburgh, New England, which was ridiculous. That one was stupid. I'm forgetting the other one.
Jets Texans, which was 0-0 at halftime.
Oh,
and then Zach Wilson scores 30 plus himself.
Yuck.
I don't see that happening here. I don't see Russell Wilson or Bailey Zappi putting up 20 plus and a half. I don't see the kicking games being very strong here. Okay. So, yeah, I like the under 34.5. If I was taking a flyer on the spread, I'd take the Patriots, and I might even consider a sprinkle on the Pats money line because I do think the Broncos' magic's running out. And they have 2 look-ahead games against the AFC West, Drew, the Chargers and the Raiders.
Okay, yeah. I think we're kind of in lockstep on this one. Chargers, the Chargers, maybe you're looking ahead thinking you're going to win that game, and then maybe if you beat the Patriots, you beat the Chargers, then you just got to take care of business against the Raiders, and maybe you're in the playoffs. But I think ultimately there are a lot of positives to point to with the Patriots here, and again, like, I don't even know if this is a thing, but just kind of keep this in mind as you're watching the game. Bill Belichick, one of the things he's known for, that's not a thing that really kind of goes away with age, is his ability to prepare the players for the conditions in game day. Right? He gets his guys ready to play in conditions XYZ. I don't know that Sean Payton can do that. Sean Payton existed
for a long time.
He coached at home for a long time, and it's been a long, the Broncos are home, but the conditions kind of, is it possible that wet wintry weather might actually favor the Patriots? Sure. I think there's definitely potentially scope here for the Patriots' big bodies on the D line to be effective. And I like your call on getting a little money line too, because it's possible, if Broncos just needed some rest and to be at home and come out and absolutely stomp, that's possible.
The Patriots aren't quitting.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No,
they are not the Commanders or any of these other Jets or any of these teams. They have not quit whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Broncos, Bills, and Jets the last 3 weeks, I could see the Patriots at least being against the spread spoilers, if not upsetting one of those 3 teams, starting here with the Broncos. So won't go there with the Bills, but I could see the Broncos or Jets losing to the Patriots. Before we close out with the best bets, I want to remind everyone to find another way to celebrate the holiday season. You could be a part of the Premier League festive fixtures. Beginning on Thursday, December 21st, we'll have 29 matches over 13 days on NBC, USA, and Peacock. So check out all the thrilling moments, from creative set pieces to scorching shots and amazing saves. It's the gift that keeps on giving. We got lots of great sports going on NBC, USA, and Peacock this next week. And I'm sure my guy, Mr. Brad Thomas, will have some soccer bets for you guys if you need some. Drew, final thoughts, best bets, where are we going?
Best for me is over in the Jags game. Like I said, this has one-sided direction, in my opinion, in terms of we get good news on Trevor Lawrence. We may get good news on Zay Flowers. I doubt it, but it may be. And I think ultimately Tampa scoring in this one. So 42.5 to the over is my favorite play.
Love that. And I'll be rolling with my favorite plays. Patriots Broncos under 34. Gotta love it. If you don't, oh well. And then I like the first quarter over a lot in UCF versus Georgia Tech for Friday night. That's how I'm going to kick off my weekend. And I think it's probably the safest of my college football bull bets, which probably means nothing, Drew. So before we get out of here, what are you asking Santa for Christmas? I won't see you till after.
I mean, 5-0 in the millions, circa millions.
How you doing in that, by the way?
I'm right in there. I'm right in the mix, man.
Let's go.
I'm right in the mix.
Congratulations. Keep it going.
Yeah. Too early. There's a lot of football left. I got 15 more picks I got to make, Vaughn. But if I finish 5-0 this week, almost certainly looking at cashing something. And in particular, like fourth quarter, I have one entry that's 9-0-1, which is pretty cool because the quarter prizes are pretty legit there too.
Yeah, I agree, man. I was salivating at the mouth last season when we had a good first 2 weeks, so I remember the feeling. Go get it, Drew. Go make that money and make us all proud, my friend. I won't even bring up my against the spread competitions because I've been the Commanders. I've been tanking the past 3 weeks in ATS, and I'm like, why? How? But Survivor Pool is all I wish for Christmas. I wish for an Eagles win on Christmas and then a Jaguars win on New Year's Eve. Then I am in the final week of the Survivor Pool. And what more could you actually ask for? And of course, a Michigan win. So I'm greedy this year. But we'll cover that next week after St. Nick gives us what we want this weekend, right, Drew?
Yes.
All right. Thank you to everyone watching with us live, listening in audio form. Thank you to producer Dan for holding us down, and Adam as well. And from Drew and I, happy holidays to you guys. Make sure you spend it with loved ones and spend it in a positive mind state. Do not overbet and do not make the mistakes you could be avoiding this holiday season. NBCsports.com for all your info and help with wagers. We'll see you later. Enjoy the holidays.